Koala. What episode is this?
39. Oh shit, Audacity. That's what I was doing.
Difficulty. All right, update that.
Baby.
All right, you're doing the intro and then throwing it to me?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, are you ready?
Yep.
Let me check my levels. All right, I think they're good.
What team? Wait, real quick. Links, what's your soccer team?
Oh.
Who's your English Premier League team? Why the fuck is American football called football, dude? Because America loves to throw in meaningful mental debt into all our shit.
Meaningless mental debt?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, you said meaningful. British. Lynx's response to his favorite soccer team was the word British. Are you fucking kidding me?
I don't think so. I think it was. Come on, Lynx, hurry up. Don't.
All right, we're starting the podcast.
Your response.
He's fucked. All right, ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's start the intro. Start my recording. All that shit. And away we go.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Spartan 117. Welcome to Quality Time, the KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. Anthony and Skylar will take it from here. Master Chief, out.
Welcome to Quality Time, the KO Koala Entertainment Podcast. My name is Anthony Nicolosi.
And I'm Skylar Sokol.
And today we're talking about difficulty in games, like difficulty levels, the philosophical foundations of difficulty in games, all that goodness. What are we talking about, Skylar?
Well, yeah, so I think it's just really interesting because there's such a wide range of what I would call difficulty in games. And just like how different people enjoy and interact with games in different ways from the perspective of how difficult those games are, right? Like Dark Souls, for example, is like the king of like quote unquote difficult games. Some people hate that shit. Some people like only play Dark Souls because it's the only thing that gets their blood rushing enough or whatever. But I guess let's just start with like, what is difficulty? Is it just like how challenging a game is? What does that mean? Do you have any opinions on that?
How I would define difficulty. Yeah, generally I think the way I think about it is how challenging a game is to accomplish its goal, whatever that goal may be.
Right.
There's also sub levels of difficulty in a sense, like because a game sometimes has like some sub elements to it, right? So if you're like playing Rocket League, there's the difficulty of like scoring a goal against similarly skilled opponents, and then there's also the difficulty of like hitting the fucking shot.
Sure, totally, yeah. Rocket League's interesting like that. It has a really deep like skill matrix or whatever, right?
Yep.
So, and I think that really plays into it. And I think with multiplayer games, it's a whole nother thing, right? Because then there's the human element of difficulty in there. Like, how do you balance another human being way better at the game with you? That gets into like the matchmaking discussion, right? But for now, let's just talk about like gameplay design difficulty, right? Not ignoring just like if I'm playing against Lynx Potter in Rocket League, that shit's gonna be easy, right? Whereas if I'm playing against like who's someone good in our Discord?
Just West.
Like Just West, he's gonna fuck me up, right?
Yeah.
That's not the kind of difficulty we're talking about here. So like I don't know. You've never played Dark Souls, but I know you've watched people play Dark Souls. Why do you think people love Dark Souls?
Well, so okay, getting maybe to more of the philosophical element of difficulty. What I was just thinking while you were talking was, like, why does difficulty have to exist? In a game? Because, for example, a game, one of the great features of a video game or a game of any kind is there's an element of escapism. There's somehow you are removing yourself from the complicated, out of control world that you can't exert the amount of control that you typically want to on, and entering into a world where you can, right? Which is designed to help you feel autonomous and masterful. That's kind of a hint, but like, why? If the only thing in a game was like and there are some games like that, to just feel extremely powerful or whatever, why does difficulty have to be there? Of course, like, I'm asking you that. Maybe if you want, do you want to chime in real quick on
I'll just give my only thought in response really quick. I know you've got more to say, is just like, how do you make someone feel powerful without making something challenging? Does it really feel powerful to not be challenged? That's like I don't know, right? Like, if you can win every single 100-meter dash you do because you're just like inherently the fastest person alive and you don't have to try very hard, do you feel powerful? I don't know,
yeah.
Right?
So we touched on it before, but there's the self-determination theory, right? The psychological framework that says that human psychological happiness can be broken down into how a person is, how satisfied maybe a person is along three axes, one being autonomy, one being relatedness to others, and the third is competence, like mastery, right?
Right.
There's for a game to have a mastery path, we were talking about Rocket League, for example, it wouldn't be satisfying to one of the reasons why Rocket League continues to be so satisfying even after thousands of hours of play is there's still yet another challenge right ahead of you to master in mechanics, maybe in speed of play, in relation to others or whatever. If that challenge is not there, there's no pursuit of a goal one, which like the whole extrinsic reward, something maybe we'll talk about in another podcast, but like there's no like pursuit of a goal and then the subsequent mastering of it, which is a thing that humans seem to find extremely satisfying.
Right. Pulling this over to Dark Souls, right? It's the same thing. Dark Souls has a huge mastery path, right? The beginning, you get like fucked up by literally the first enemy of the game, and you're supposed to, and eventually you learn to beat him, and then like almost every enemy in Dark Souls has its own mastery path. Because they're all different and they're all really difficult. So for someone who really like gets off on mastery paths, I can totally see why they get into that game. But for someone who maybe wants it to come a little easier, I can see Dark Souls being really too punishing for them, right? Like in Dark Souls, when you die, not only do you lose souls, which are like your points for leveling up, but you also, every enemy in the area respawns, and you respawn back at like a bonfire, which is usually not like, it's not like checkpoints in like Mario or some shit. It's not like nice. It's like far, right? Even to the point where there's something called like the Dark Souls run or whatever, which is literally just the run back from the bonfire to where you were, trying to ignore as many enemies as possible. This is just like a common thing you do. Is that like good design? Is it good design to make a game where like it's cool to kill the enemies the first time, and then the second you've killed them, you just want to run by them the next time? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a interesting question. I mean, so this is not Dark Souls, although when it first came out, there were reporters that
called it the Dark Souls of something.
Yes, Cuphead. So Cuphead is also relatively difficult. Like it doesn't. It's just hard, and there's no difficulty levels.
There are.
Are there difficulty
There's easy.
levels?
Yep. There's easy and normal.
But yeah, I think what it was just like even easy was tough.
Yes,
and,
that is correct.
Yeah, it's not very handholdy at all, and the levels I played, maybe this changes as you go farther, but the checkpoints weren't super, like for example, forgiving. Like
no, you basically
Ori,
the boss levels, you just like start over at the beginning of the boss right? And then the platforming levels, which were the less common levels, there's one checkpoint. Yeah, but the boss levels were not that. Like there was no checkpoint. It was basically a no checkpoint game. Where the levels were not that long, but still, there were not checkpoints, really. At least for the bosses, which were the...
We have our live chat here. If you didn't know, we go live every Monday night, usually at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, and we do these episodes live. So
Twitch.tv/KO Koala_ENT.
Yep. And Toby's in chat, and he's saying, "What about Crash Bandicoot?" So
you've played that, right?
Have you?
I have not, but I've watched it.
Okay, because I loved Crash back in the day, and that shit was tough too. I mean, I was at a different point in life. I wonder. Toby calls out, "What about the remake?" We'll have to go back and play the remake and see how much.
Have you not played the
but...
Crash Bandicoot remake?
No, I played the Spyro one.
Oh yeah, you gotta jump on that shit.
I loved it. Yeah, Crash is up there for me on my favorite PS1 games. So anyway, yes, these. I'll say, what is that good design? You asked, like, is it good design to have a level like that where you just like want to run by everything again? Well, what kind of people like a game like that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it's people who are like constantly seeking a challenge, right? They want to finish a challenge and get to the next one. Like, I almost wonder if this bonfire aspect and running by is actually taking away from the game, but people don't want to admit it. Like, people who play Dark Souls are so used to that formula now that they don't care. But like, maybe if they designed it differently, those people would actually enjoy the game even more.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell. I would love to talk to someone who loves Dark Souls and see what they think about that mechanic specifically. We got to talk to our boy Eli, who inspired this topic, actually.
That's right.
And ask him what he thinks about that.
I mean, there's even an element of the run itself is sort of a skill to master, right?
It is in a way, yeah. Avoiding the enemies and stuff. It's very different from the fighting aspect, but totally.
Yeah. But yeah, it's true. Well, excuse me.
You're good.
Now, if you have Dark Souls and you put that in front of Miss Candy Crush 24/7 gamer, what do you think happens?
I have a really interesting anecdote related to this. My mom plays some fucking mobile game that's like a match 3 game or whatever, right? She's she's been playing it for like years. She's on like level 10,000. It has like infinite procedurally generated levels. Some match 3 game. She's on like level like 5 to 10,000.
So what is it like now? She has like a huge ass grid that she needs to match
it's like
3 on.
Pretty much the same, just with some weird extra mechanics that they add sometimes. I don't know. It's crazy that, and she doesn't care, right? This game is like pay to win as hell. She's never paid anybody to it, but like the levels at this point, like they basically are stacked so far against you that you have to just play them over and over until you get like a good lucky setup to beat them. If you don't pay for shit, and she doesn't pay for shit, and she doesn't care, she just still plays it. And I feel like a lot of the people who like casual games like that do that. They just play the same shit over and over. So I don't know. Maybe if those people could grasp the like mechanical like control aspect of Dark Souls, they would actually be super into it and would maybe be some of the best candidates for it, because they're willing to just bash their head against a like pay to win game and just like play the same levels over and over. You know what I mean?
It's true. And it's like kind of what we were saying before. There's these different kinds of difficulties to a game, like the notion of sort of reverse engineering your enemies and figuring out how to defeat them the best and not die is sort of a difficult. The strategy is one thing, but the mechanics needed to execute the strategy is another thing.
The barrier of entry for Dark Souls is very high, whereas the barrier of entry for match 3 game is, can you see 3 things next to each other and click them?
Right, and that's my guess. Like you're saying, if somehow you gave those people the magic power to suddenly be able to handle those mechanics, maybe they would enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's a limitation of a lot of people just for video games in general. It's just that they don't feel like they can grasp the controls well enough to like enjoy it. Right. For people who aren't that experienced with video games. I see this with board games too, right? Like there are board games I know like specific people would really love, but like the rules are too complicated, and so those people wouldn't even be able to get to the point where they could love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes. So we have some Max in chat calling out. Maybe she likes it because it's familiar.
That's actually Ben. Just so if you want to know.
Sorry,
that's Ben from work.
Sorry. Yes. So Ben calling that out. I was going to say the same thing too. You know, there's some amount of habit in doing that, and maybe in all of these games where people like, for example, we have somebody in our Discord. His name's Sinister Plum. I'm not sure if he's actually here with us right now, but he loves lassoing Halo campaigns. And what lassoing means is basically legendary, which is the hardest difficulty level, which is already insanely tough on some, But then on top of that, all skulls on.
Mhm.
So skulls are gameplay modifiers.
Right.
All skulls on, I'll tell you, is a fuck fest. Like the enemies throw tons of grenades at you. They dodge you way more readily. You don't have a HUD. You only gain health back if you punch them. And this is on fucking legendary, right? So like it's crazy. It's insane. And he makes it, he loves doing it. He's beaten, I want to say he said 5 out of the 7 Halos lasso, and he has some really impressive times on some of them. And I'll tell you, like I don't, as a big Halo fan, I would never want to do a lasso a campaign,
right?
And
especially do it over and over, right?
Right, but there's something to this familiarity, like that Ben is calling, that I think is part of what he loves. It's the there, like I said, you get into a certain mechanical flow executing what you need to execute to be able to complete these things. It's very, I mean, like Rocket League, same thing, right? Like when you're comfortable hitting flip resets, wall dash, wave dashing, whatever, like I don't know about you, but for me, I like picking up the controller and executing those movements, just like you see people spend a bunch of time in free play. I'll do that. I'll just be in free play knocking the ball around, because that amount of familiarity makes it comforting.
I think actually it's really interesting because I think basically it's because people hit this mastery ceiling, right? You commit all this time to mastering something, to learning this random unique skill set that applies nowhere outside of Rocket League, nowhere outside of lassoing Halo campaigns. You want to use it. It's fun to use it once you master it. You don't want to just abandon it and go on to something else necessarily, right? If you're willing to put in the time and the system is deep enough, you want to keep using it. And I think this relates directly. So Toby called out something in chat, which is exactly what I was going to say as well in response to what you said, which is the speedrunning community. I think speedrunners fall into this exact same category as Sinister Plum, because like they'll play the same game 8 hours a day for 6 months just to like hit a world record, right? And that's literally just like the quintessential definition of like taking advantage of a single mastery path, right? They're trying to actually master the game. And for people who like that, like some speedruns are very hard. In general, they are. Oh, yeah, it's just very hard to do them in general. And people love that shit, right? And that's basically like Dark Souls. It's just the same challenge over and over, but you're getting better at it every time, right? It's just like you said with what's it called? The self-actualization theory?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say self-determination theory.
Self-determination, thank you.
I think Raph Koster in his book, A Theory for Fun, touches on the fact that
book's right over there.
Yeah. Great book. Another one if you're wanting to jump into the world of game development or game design. But in his book Theory of Fun, he talks about one of the elements of becoming a master and mastering stuff is the ability to, is the ability to show it, if that makes sense. So becoming a master, there's that element. So again, in self-determination theory, that triangle of competence, mastery, and relatedness.
Right.
Like a huge part of the satisfaction of mastery is related to relatedness. Like the fact that others see that you're a master, the fact that that's sort of, you have now a role among others. So, when if you're the legendary speedrunner of whatever game, right? It's just like Sinister Plum right now in our Discord. He is the legendary, like it's somehow fulfills that, fills in that status role that we kind of all as humans are sort of always, even it's just subconsciously trying to put ourselves, fit ourselves into. Yeah. So
at risk of getting too philosophical, I think that the fame, like if you're doing something just for recognition, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, that's all. Just gonna throw that out there.
Make sure the fame pays, and maybe that
pays
helps.
In fulfillment, not in money. For the record,
I mean, you need to eat.
That's true. Pays in food.
I'm sure it pays a little bit.
I don't know if Sinister Plum is getting paid for lassoing Halo campaigns.
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, but now here's a cool thing.
I like cool things.
Difficulty levels. Here to this. This is I think it's super cool, and I'm sure this is not the only game that does it. difficulty levels and why they're there, why we find them satisfying, why different people kind of prefer to play. Also, I think the context you're in, we were talking about this with Fall Guys, right? Like when you play Fall Guys, you're trying to win. When I play Fall Guys, I'm trying to fuck around and have fun, more of like the things that can happen kind of fun, not necessarily the I won, that's fun for me for Fall Guys.
I mean, I think
So-
I'm trying to, I guess for me, I'm really trying to execute optimally. Whether that results in me winning for not, I care less about. I just care about
Okay.
like doing it cool shit, basically.
But from
yes,
that perspective,
totally different.
I'm not in a execute optimally
Right,
mode when I'm
right.
playing Fall
You're in a
Guys.
fuck around
I am
mode.
maybe when I'm playing ranked Rocket League,
Mhm.
right? So different games, different difficulties for different scenarios and different games. I think that's why it's cool when, like, Minecraft like has such a wide variety of difficulties, of challenges in front of you that you sort of also like kind of choose to partake in depending on your mood. Like if I feel like it in Minecraft, I don't have to go in the nether and beat it and I don't know what the fuck. Like I could just fish.
You
know?
could literally go into creative mode, even, right? Like
I could even go to creative mode. I could put it on peaceful. I don't even need to worry about it.
Right.
And then at the same time, if I want to get crazy, I can put it on hard. I can go fucking kill wither skeletons to eventually get their 3 skulls to drop, spawn a wither,
Right.
and let like the whole world explode from this fucker. Like so. Basically, just saying that I think depending also on the mood that people find themselves in, what kind of experience they're looking for from a game, also influences. The second thing I want to talk about, which is how these are actually implemented.
Well, wait, hold on. Let's finish this philosophical discussion.
Oh, wait, you had
difficulty
something
levels.
more?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember this. I can't remember. I was about to Google it, but I can't remember what game it was. There was a game that came out that spawned a huge argument on the internet where people were fucking pissed that the game had an easy difficulty. I can't remember what it was.
Are you sure that they were pissed that it had one or that it didn't?
That
have
it had one.
Huh.
And people were like
I remember
so
I think I
mad.
remember what you. Yeah.
They were like gatekeeping and saying like, if you can't be a real gamer, you shouldn't be playing games. I think one that's coming to my mind, I can't remember if this is the exact one, but it was on Mario 3D World. If you like died enough, the game would like ask if you needed help, and then you could say yes, and it would like complete the level for you. People were so mad that that existed, and it's just like, dude. Let people play games how they want. Do you remember that? Yeah. People got so people who would never use that feature, who don't care that that feature's there, who could just say no and never see the feature again, got pissed.
Well, that's interesting. But here's another thing. Yeah, and we just have Josh in chat. When Fire Emblem introduced casual mode, a lot of fans got pissed off. Yes, it's similar, but I think part of, if maybe this isn't the same game, but I remember that there was a game that had a similar controversy to it that was also surrounding the fact that reviewers were reviewing the game on that easy level. So the people felt that it was unfair or inaccurate, like the review, right? Like if you and there's the general. I see that this controversy kind of show up from time to time. Like I remember it happened with Cuphead 2 when Cuphead came out, and there were some reviewers who wanted easy to be easier, and that the game was too hard. They deemed, right, and there was controversy around whether that was a kind of viable reason to downgrade the score on the game, like it should be easier or not.
Right.
So. Yeah, that's a tough one. Again, like I said, I feel like when you make a game, you're aiming for a certain demographic. You're keeping in mind sort of the context that your game's probably going to be played in, or that you think people will want to play it in.
Right.
If you're making Sekiro,
Yep.
you're making Sekiro, and you're not making Animal Crossing,
Right.
And so, you just. Maybe it's a little harder of a game. Like I don't think I like the fact that Cuphead's easy was still hard.
Right.
I like that Dark Souls exists personally. I don't like that I don't think every developer should feel like they need to have a I'll hold your hand mode. Some games,
Sure.
in my opinion, don't have to have it.
Right.
It's not to say
I just don't think you should get angry if it does have it, I guess. I don't think that it's required, but it's not bad if someone adds it. And I think people getting mad if it's added is stupid.
Maybe if it's a thing that's like retroactively, like I don't know the case of Fire Emblem. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar enough with that community. But for example, if Dark Souls, knowing Dark Souls in sort of the kind of category, and all of a sudden introduce some like super baby easy mode, I think there's an element of, and maybe it's even related to that fact of like somehow the things I've accomplished previously are somehow undermined,
right,
by
which is
the fact
silly
that you just added.
Because they aren't in any way, but like psychologically, I'm sure that's what
technically
would
they're
happen
not, right? But again, it's like somehow I am like, if I'm somehow a legend because of what I've accomplished in this franchise up to this point, and now you introduce an easy mode. Well, you know, like it's somehow not. This game is now perceived as not such as a hard thing, which somehow diminishes my status as a legend of a hard game.
Right. Which is silly because that's all related to like people caring about recognition and notoriety and nothing else. But
humans, man, humans
are bad at being happy. So
that's why we're making games.
Exactly. One more thing, and then I want to hear about this implementation thing because I think the technical aspects of difficulty levels are really interesting too. But But I think one really interesting thing is in rhythm games, very frequently you can compete with someone who's playing the same level at an easier difficulty. And how they've balanced that is really interesting. I think in general you usually get more points for playing on the higher difficulties, but your letter grade is still maintained, right? So if I play against someone on easy and I'm playing on like hard, we could both get A's, but my A will be worth more points. So I think that's a pretty good solution, right? Because the person playing on easy still gets the satisfaction of getting an A, but like their points don't. But honestly, like who cares about the points? You care about the grades. So for that, it's really nice for them, right?
And this is not super dissimilar to the conversation we had previously around first-person shooters on aim assist, people playing with controllers and people who are playing mouse and keyboard who don't get the aim assist help.
Right.
Like how do you kind of manage that? So yeah, I do think that implementation of the rhythm games is a, let's say, tasteful way of doing it.
Ben,
it seems fair.
Ben brought up something really interesting. I actually experienced this with him because he was telling me about this game. There's a game called Starlink, the one with Star Fox in it. It was like the Starfighter game that came out on Switch. I don't know if you remember. But at the beginning of the game, there was no enemy scaling. So like the enemies were set to a specific difficulty level, and throughout the universe they got harder in different areas or whatever, right? But if you went back to an earlier area, they would be super easy. And then they pushed an update that made the harder enemies scale based on your pilot level. And so for some people who like played the game a shit ton, overnight like areas of the game became completely unplayable. Like you couldn't even be there anymore, even areas you had been for like the entire time you were playing.
Scaling on experience.
I think it's a good thing if it's there from the beginning and the game is designed with it intentionally, but
right. Yeah, right. I mean, I suppose you could design it in such a way where you had to like somehow quantify though that the skills that your game requires are improving strictly from experience. You know what I mean?
No,
like
totally true.
If you have an idle game, for example, like the one in our Discord that you should play because you can get free stuff,
and because it's fun and interesting,
because it also introduces you to the universe of our upcoming game. Yes, you with experience is directly related to, I guess, your skill standings and your abilities in the game,
right? Like
because it's so. I don't know if one-dimensional, but it's very, very straightforward. But yeah, you have to be able to guarantee that if a person spends 2 hours, they are this much better at whatever mechanic.
I think turn-based RPGs, for example, are an example of games that do this sometimes because the skill comes in the strategy, not in like a mechanic you're learning. Right, so for those
you generally
can
have these kinds of levels unlocked. Yes.
Right, and your characters get stronger over time, so it kind of works. But yeah, those games involve some sort of grinding, so it actually makes your life easier if the enemies scale up, because then you can fight the same enemies and get more experience from them because they're harder, right? You don't have to like grind shitty enemies the whole time. Anyway, that was just an interesting comment by Ben for sure. So, tell us about what difficulty implementations. What do you find interesting about it? I'm assuming you have a cool Halo story about it, is what I'm guessing.
So, Halo's actually an interesting one where a lot of times I feel that the legendary versions, which are the harder ones, are just like broken. Halo 2 is actually the famous one where there are these snipers, these jackal snipers that are so fucking unbelievably quickly accurate that it's just my head bashing material, man. Sometimes it's unfair. It's not like, generally in Halo, one of in my opinion, and like the Doom has this too, like the beauty of, just in a good game design, when you lose, you should know why you lost so that you can get better, and try again, right? That the jackal snipers robbed that from you. You died so fast, you don't know even how to piece together what the fuck happened, especially since in Halo 2, prior to the new versions or whatever, you didn't have like a camera that kind of showed you an angle of like where the shot even fucking came from. You were just running like, okay, like, and respawn, like, so anyway, not necessarily the old Halos for sure. Doom is the one I want to talk about. So in Doom 2016, there's a fantastic, super cool, from an implementation perspective, in my opinion, talk done by the id team for 2016, where they implemented I'm sure this is not the only game that does this, I gotta imagine, but an attack ticketing system that would dynamically change in relation to the player's skill. So for example, the way you could think about it, this also was so first, the way you could think about it is if you had like let's say 10 enemies bad guys in a room, if the player was bad, every 10 seconds, however many enemies there were there could only be a maximum of 3 attacks that happen in those 10 seconds.
Right.
Because
3 tickets are available, 3 enemies can take those tickets, and then it's out, and they don't refresh for another 10 seconds.
So basically every tick of the game, the AI requests a ticket to be able to attack, right?
That's cool.
Simplifying this, yeah. If the player was good, those numbers reduce, right? So now the amount of time before those tickets are released and available decrease, and you have to deal with more stuff. This also was there were other systems that were related. That's like, if the player's better, there were more enemies,
right, or
a greater variety or whatever. But this was. I think this was slick as fuck, and it was also sort of dynamic in that if we see you're struggling, could we potentially do something? They have different modes in Doom, similar to like Halo, so I think it's within a range maybe. But if you maybe could they, and they said this in the talk, the idea is like if we can detect that you're not learning, like you don't get how you're losing, could we scale that system back just a teens to give you more of an opportunity to understand what the fuck is going on?
Now, my question is, because like this comes down to one very simple question that I don't think is very simple at all, which is how do you tell if a player is bad?
Yeah.
Right? Like if I die once on a level in Doom, I don't want it to suddenly become way easier, right? Like how? Right. I'd be very. I wonder if they go over that. Do they go over like what their skill algorithm is?
It's been too long for me to remember the details on that part, and they were talking more about like the AI design and in that particular talk and how those kinds of things work. But they might have touched on that. However, they also touched on the concept that they use this metric of essentially that there was a relation to a player's skill and the amount of decisions they could handle per second. So basically, a player of higher skill could handle more decisions per second, right? So there's probably a way of
like how do you quantify that?
Yeah, like, well, if you're maybe in a battle zone and there's from the ticketing system that these many attacks are happening, and it's maybe a more straightforward situation. There's now also elements of like navigating maybe the map and understanding where to go kind of a problem. I don't know. Maybe you could break it down like, this person seems to be struggling with the amount of things happening per second.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know, but I'll say when I was playing Doom 2016, that shit flowed amazingly. And like, and maybe it is because of this system, right? Like where areas were hard, I felt like I mastered them, but also maybe they got a tiny bit easier. But does that sort of feel like a slight maybe? Like, do I feel slighted now that I know that like maybe an area got a little easier and I didn't actually beat like what was the challenging version of that area?
Hard to say. Like if you're learning, to draw an analogy, one that Raph Koster uses that I like, it's like if you're learning tennis and your teacher's like, for step 1, just make contact with the ball. Step 2, let's get the ball over the fence. Step 3, let's put you against this player who we think is similarly skilled to you, and maybe you're like, okay, maybe maybe either you handicap the other player somehow or just a little bit to it's more of I feel like understanding where the player's at and what the next step is,
Right.
and just figuring out how to get there and knowing that the next steps are coming too.
Well, and I also
like, just
think
because,
like, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
No, just because in that moment you couldn't beat that one player doesn't mean that without a little bit of training you can't soon beat the player that was even better than him.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Especially training the right way. Like, because just bashing your head into, like you said, a wall where you don't understand how to get better is not as beneficial as being in a situation where you can get better and understand and just doing that incrementally, right? So that totally makes sense. And I also think because Doom has all of these different difficulties, like selectable difficulties, that also sort of solves the problem, right? Because if I'm like here saying like, yo, I didn't beat it on the challenging thing, but I'm not also like, I could just go back and play it on Nightmare then, right? If I really want to see if I can beat it on I can just play on a higher difficulty the next time. So it's got a system in place to like, to answer my question of like, should I feel slayed? It's like, no, because here you go. You want to play it harder? You can play it harder.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll tell you, even without playing a single thing of Doom, I played the beta and loved it. But like, and I'll now go play the full game. But I just hearing those presentations, I'm like, that game's good.
And it is. It like I'm not a huge like that kind of game fan. Like, it's sort of like an arena FPS single player game basically, and I'm not like that into that, but I loved that game. I played it like straight through. I like every time I sat down to play games after I started it. Well, after I restarted it recently, I was like, I want to play this again. And I'm excited to do the same with Doom Eternal because like just the way it's designed feels so good. It's a great game. Everyone should play Doom.
And I'll be playing it on stream. You can
I
come
think
watch
it's a
me
little
enjoy it.
unfortunate, honestly, that it's like so violent. I wish that there were non-violent games that were designed that well, but
I thought that too. I guess somebody's gonna have to make one.
Tune in next whatever. Anyway, where can people find us?
You can find us at kokoalaentertainment.com. There you have links to all our social media, especially Instagram, where we do giveaways. Here's me plugging the extrinsic rewards, where we give things away on Instagram. We give things away on Twitter. We give things away on Discord. We give things away. Come for the giveaways, stay for the community, for the content. It would be cool if you won. You can find, like I said, you can find all the links at our website. The most important one, Discord. Join the Discord. There you can not only hang out with the community, talk to us. It's definitely the place we're most accessible, but also you can begin to delve into the universe of our upcoming game. Right now, there are projects. They are getting their milestone lore rewards. Some things is just the kind of thing is mysterious, cryptic. Where is it all going? We'll see. They shall see.
Yes.
So yes, join us there.
We hopefully
Follow
already know.
Yes, subscribe to us on YouTube, and know that we stream daily, really, on
Pretty
Twitch.
much.
One of us is always streaming, and we stream these podcasts if you're hearing us in audio form every Monday. This time it's Tuesday because of Labor Day, but anyway, every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So, right now,
Yep. Thanks, guys, for listening.
we will see you guys later.
Hopefully on Twitch next Monday. See ya.
Boom.